Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate. And yes, I know this video is pretty late. I actually accidentally slept in, and I got 11 hours of sleep. I will say that much. Did feel pretty good, but I typically want my videos to be uploaded at around the 9 o'clock, not the 9 o'clock, the 9:30 to 10:30 vicinity Eastern Daylight Time, mainly because the Storm Prediction Center updates their pages at around 9 Eastern. So, um, you know, you can tell that I slept in, even though my hair is looking nice at the front. Um, it's not exactly the best. I'm not looking exactly the best. I'm looking over at my live page right now, and it's just no, nope. But oh well, we'll get into this video to where we'll talk about a bit more about the severe weather threat today and tomorrow, small severe weather threat, as well as the cool down that's coming to half of the country and the potential severe weather event for next week. Um, so yeah, if you've seen my post that I made, or if you've seen my video yesterday, I was hinting that there could be severe weather threat next week, and we'll actually talk a little bit more about that either tomorrow or Thursday. So stay tuned. So marginal risk right here for the central parts of the Arklatex area. So it would be the Texarkana area heading into Oklahoma, northern parts of Louisiana, heading into Mississippi and Alabama, as well as central Tennessee and southern Kentucky, all the way down to very extreme southeastern parts of Missouri into Arkansas. Let's actually get a closer look here for you all. Um, so, yep, here's the marginal risk. It contains a 5% chance for hail, which it would just be a 5% chance of you seeing 1 inch size hail or larger within a 25 miles of a point. It also contains a 5% chance of you seeing 58 mile per hour winds or above. And it also sees a 2% chance for tornadoes all the way through into the main risk areas, maybe the southern parts of the risk. So places like Dallas, Fort Worth could get into this action. Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Shreveport, Monroe, maybe Jackson, maybe north of Jackson, actually. Um, Tupelo is in this one. Um, Jonesboro's in this one. So just more places that people need to monitor this. I think Jackson actually might be too far south, but still something to keep in mind with all of that. Then you have your day 2 risk. This is the one that I was mentioning earlier about the widespread severe weather. This was my video yesterday that I mentioned that there's going to be a widespread severe weather event, but it is going to be like very small, like a smaller scale of severe. So it's still a marginal. You have a widespread risk for hail, which goes into parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, extreme southern parts of Tennessee near the border near Huntsville, so like Chattanooga, and then the western panhandle of Florida near Pensacola, heading up into the central to northern parts of Georgia, western parts of South Carolina, and southwestern parts of North Carolina. So those areas could see something. Then you have your wind risk, which extends all the way up into the Delmarva Peninsula, all the way over towards the Atlantic City areas, going all the way down to the coastal Carolinas, moving on through and back to the original risk areas where the hail is. Then you also have your tornado risk, which is localized mainly in the coastal Carolinas all the way down to places like Birmingham. This is a 2% chance of you seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point. Very minimal on the scale here, but still a chance nevertheless. And then day 3, there's nothing that really happens. There's just some passing thunderstorms that happen on the eastern side of the U.S., but nothing for the most part across the board. And we'll get to exactly why that is here in a second. But first, I want to talk about what the capabilities are for the severe weather event on Tuesday and Wednesday a little bit more. So we'll get some timings out here for you all. This is the North American model that I'm using. And you can see at 0Z, this is 7 o'clock Central. There's some scattered storms that pass on through in northern parts of Tennessee, well, northwestern parts of Tennessee, western parts of Kentucky, eastern parts of Illinois, and maybe even western parts of Indiana. So scattered storms across the area, but then in between that time frame, thunderstorms then begin to develop near the Texarkana area, heading on through into places west of Little Rock. That will then continue to push on through to the east. Actually, let's go to a different model real quickly. It'll be a whole lot easier to figure out day by time by time. So, and then there's more thunderstorms that will move on through the Memphis areas at around, say, 6 o'clock. Also, at 6 o'clock, there's going to be some more storms that will move past anyone who lives on the border of Alabama and Mississippi. More scattered storms that move on through northern Mississippi and Alabama as well. And then that's when your thunderstorms begin to fire off at around 9 o'clock. Earlier for people who live in Texas, you guys will have your thunderstorms earlier than that. And then scattered thunderstorms, and then a very strong quasi-linear convective system, your squall line right here, that'll push on through. And so as this moves off into the overnight hours, into the early morning, this will be more or less a gusty wind threat. So this is the early morning here, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. That'll continue to move on through, and that line will actually break up. It'll be more of a scattered shower risk for the deep south. So this is around 3 o'clock, and as that continues to push on through into the 7 o'clock hours for Central, 9 o'clock hours, they start to move over the Appalachians. They continue to have a lot of scattered storms across the board here. So Hattiesburg is starting to get some of these storms. Birmingham is still getting these storms. Atlanta is also getting these storms. And as that continues to move on through, it's more or less just another quasi-linear convective system overnight that moves on through. And so you can see how more and more thunderstorms begin to develop, and they start to congeal, if you will. Bless me. We'll move on through back into what's happening on Thursday evening. So, yep, there's your thunderstorms that continue to push on through. There's also the snow that we were talking about. This is on the Wednesday night into Thursday. There's your snow that begins to develop and push on through into the northeast. And so now you have your severe risk in the south, your winter risk in the north, even though it technically isn't winter anymore. It's just mainly a snow risk. And so as that continues to move on through, your storms will begin to finally push off or get to the coast in some areas around 6 o'clock-ish in the morning on Thursday, and then the risk will finally push off at around 10 o'clock on Thursday. So that way, it'll just be the snow risk in the north that is the main concern here. Speaking of snow, let's take a look and see what exactly we can get here from this. Let's do 10 to 1. So according to the GFS here, some areas still in the Ohio River Valley can get 1 to 3 inches in some spots. There could be a bit of more of a dusting, honestly. Like more or less just 1 inch hail amount. Well, not hail, geez. Snow amounts. 1 inch snow amounts in some areas. Could be more in some, especially into places near like Columbus, maybe east of Columbus. As you get further and further towards Canton, those areas, especially near Wheeling in West Virginia, that's when your snowfall amounts can start to increase. Erie, it's got like, is forecasted 4 inches according to the GFS. That's more than it was yesterday. So northern Pennsylvania is more or less going to be forecasted 3 to 5 inches, especially with some areas in north central Pennsylvania, to where they can get 5 to 8 inches, maybe even 8 to 12 inches in higher elevations in Pennsylvania. Um, and then let's move up to the northeast real quickly. Do everyone a favor by doing that. There we go. And then I mentioned before earlier on that upstate New York's probably going to get the most snowfall amounts out of this, and that's mainly because in the higher elevations you can see some stuff in upwards of a foot, maybe even a foot and a half, especially all the way up in northern upstate New York. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then I said before in my video yesterday that some places in New Hampshire most likely won't get this event. Some places in Maine will probably not get this event. But you'll still see some snowfall amounts that'll fall on through here, especially in Vermont and then northern parts of New Hampshire. And if you live along the border of Maine and Canada, I believe that's Quebec. Here's Ontario here. This is Quebec. If you live on the border of that, you guys could see a bit more snow in those areas. And then nothing really changes from that. But I will say I do want to see the freezing rain for these areas here. Freezing rain. There's a lot of freezing rain in northern Maine. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's take a look at the NAM. NAM's a little bit better at this, at finding freezing rain. They still say northern Maine's going to have a lot of freezing rain. So, the areas from Albany all the way up into northern Maine, you guys can get a lot of freezing rain from this. That's actually pretty crazy. If that comes into fruition. Let's check another model real quickly. I want to check the Euro's total snowfall amount. And the Euro's about the same as the GFS, actually. Dusting in the Ohio River Valley with higher snowfall amounts in northern Pennsylvania all the way up into upstate New York. They actually exclude places like Maine and New Hampshire, though. So that's something to keep in mind as that continues to move on through. I want to take a look at the NAM. I want to take a look at its freezing rain. At this point, I'm just playing with models. This is what we do, by the way, chat, every single day. If you're wondering the day in the life of Nate Snyder, this is exactly what we do. We just look at models. So this actually doesn't go all the way out to the end of the run. Oh, that's because I'm not using the right run. Duh. Let's go all the way to the end. That way, it'll just immediately pop up. Boom. All right. So even the NAM3K says there's going to be a lot of freezing rain in the northern Maine area. So if you live in Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine, you guys could also see plethora amounts of freezing rain within your areas. So depending upon your elevation, you could expect more freezing rain than others, but otherwise, snow, freezing rain, sleet is in your forecast, and that you guys need to continue to monitor the storm heavily. All right, now let's go over to our good old pal Weather Bell here. We're going to get our temperature in Fahrenheit, and we're going to kind of play this through here. So this is going to start from Wednesday into Thursday. This is Wednesday morning here. You can see as the storms start to kind of kick off, it creates this cold front here. You can see this dip, this line right here in the temperatures. So these oranges and yellows are like 70s and 60s, with some browns actually getting into the 90s and maybe even 100s in some areas. And then you have these blues over here, which is 40s and maybe 50s in some instances. Your light blue is 30s and 40s. Your kind of very burgundy-ish red, that's more or less the 10s to 20s. And then your as you get closer and closer to like this white green up here, that's below freezing. So like this purple is more or less single digits. So as time goes along, you can see that cold front pushes on through, and overnight, most of the country, except for places like the desert, um, most of the places in the country, they're they're pretty chilly. I'm not gonna lie. This is 30s to 40s as a low, with some areas in the higher elevations lower than that. And there's even some areas that are in the Midwest. The Midwest gets into like the 20s in some areas, going all the way up to around the Great Lakes. So that's a massive cold spell that's pushing on through. And then warm weather returns to the plains, the central plains, and to the Rockies areas. You can see how the warm temperatures stay over there, um, but cooler temperatures now start to impact places like Florida, um, mainly because you can see the day before it was what 80s, 90s, maybe even 100 in some spots, and now it's only 100 near Miami. So, or 90 to 100 near Miami. So, but you still have this cold weather in place, and that it is still relatively cool for places in like Dixie Alley. Louisiana gets up to about 60 as a high, as well as southern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and southern parts of Georgia. If you live near like Birmingham, Jackson, Tupelo, not Alabama, Atlanta. If you live over there, you guys are more or less in like the 50s. And then as you continue to go further and further north, um, it's pretty cool there. But Myrtle Beach, 50s, 60s, Wilmington, 50s, 60s, something around the board over there. And that's only Thursday. Then the cooler temperatures come back in, and that the next day here, this is Friday, there's still some cool air in place, especially near like Daytona Beach, Jacksonville. It actually gets relatively cool for you all over there into like the 50s. But the Central Plains get into some relatively warm weather as well. It starts to get into the stuff like the 60s and 70s, maybe 80s in some spots if it starts to consolidate. The desert starts heating up over near Death Valley. But that cool air is still in place. This is a high, right? This is the highs for the day, and it gets into the 20s. That's how cold it can get in some of these areas. So luckily I'll be indoors for that, but if you're outdoors, plan accordingly. Layer up a little bit. You definitely do not want to be in that cold spell out there for too long, especially if it's really windy, and I have a feeling it actually is pretty windy. Hold up. Because your low pressure system is right there. So let's take a look at wind speeds in miles per hour. Actually, let's take a look at wind gusts. Wind gust is probably better. Yeah, there's a little bit of gusts over there. Especially earlier on into the Wednesday and Thursday hours. But it still can be pretty gusty in some of these areas. So people over there need to monitor this heavily. Because this is something that wind chills can be a big factor in some of these situations that can cause hypothermia. And that's not the way to go. I've never gotten hypothermia, but I've heard it's bad. Frostbite, it's bad. So this is actually the 12Z run. We're gonna want to take a look at the 6Z. Be a whole lot easier for ourselves. So yeah, cold air stays in place over in the south as well as the northeast, but then it starts to alleviate once it starts to get into the early parts of next week, and you can see this warm weather start to rise across the board. And this warm weather will actually stay in place until we start to get into the latter parts, well, the mid to latter parts of next week. So basically what all I'm saying here is that warm weather from the beginning of next week to the middle part of next week will be really comfortable for everyone. It'll get into the 70s for the most part in the mid-Atlantic all the way down to the south. Midwest will get some of this action. There will be some cold air that's over in the Rockies, I will admit that, and that is because your next storm system is now starting to push on through, and you can actually see that storm system push off into the Midwest there. You can see this bit of a line right here, and this is actually your low pressure system that's bringing your thunderstorms and is pushing on through. So mid part of next week, severe weather across somewhere in the central parts of the United States. I'm assuming it's going to be a widespread event because of how large this cold front is. But Wednesday is a day that we need to monitor heavily. Tuesday, I'm not sure if there's going to be a whole lot of thunderstorms. There might be. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, definitely days that we're going to want to watch. Now, real quickly, I haven't used this a whole lot. I have to admit, I just found it, like, I've heard about it for quite a while, but I haven't really heard about it a whole lot. So I really want to get into this stuff here about what all we can expect from these storms next week. And these are just analogs. So this is what we can expect here more or less from these systems. And this is a pretty far out prediction, but excuse me. There are some areas that actually say that there could be some severe weather within the day 6 through 8, which would be Tuesday through Thursday. Some areas actually get up into the 48% area percentiles of them seeing the chance for severe weather. Here, I'll actually put up cities. You can see it's near Amarillo, Abilene, Midland, Dallas. Oklahoma City gets into the fray at a 40%. Places near Dodge City get near a 50%. Kansas City get near a 30%. So this is something to keep in mind that as this gets closer and closer, this model will then be able to tell me what exactly we can expect within some of these areas. And here's the funny thing too. This is the extended analogs here. This looks through 6 through 8, 9 through 11, 12 through 14. If we take a look at the short-term analogs here, so NAM, forecast hour 24, we're going to take a look at the hazard guidance real quickly and show you severe, let's do severe reports for any severe. So this is for today, I believe. This is today, right? I think this is actually tomorrow. No. This is today at 0Z. So this is 7 o'clock today. This is the chance of you seeing some severe reports from these storms today. So they're saying that there's going to be a lot more severe storms near like the Shreveport, Texarkana area. I think around Garland, stuff like that. So more severe reports will be more towards the south, not really towards the north near Memphis. But then again, that is relatively a soon prediction, especially with how the event's supposed to transpire later on in the evening. But I do want to take a look here at this. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do the reports again. And this is tomorrow's event, actually. You can see they expect a lot more severe reports in Georgia in some areas. But something to keep in mind, I'm going to use this product a lot more in future videos. I actually like this product a lot. And so this will actually give me a rough estimate as to what areas could get some severe weather just based off of this guidance. So it's not all set in stone, but it gives you the probability of you seeing the severe weather compared to others. Alrighty, I'm trying to think if that's all I want to talk about. I think that's all I want to talk about here today. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family, do all sorts of stuff. That'd be greatly appreciated. I know this was a bit of a hodgepodge episode, but at the same time, I'm never really too organized, to be completely honest with you. If I had time to edit my videos, it'd be a whole lot better, but it is what it is. We do all that we can, and we hope that it's enough. So That's gonna be enough for me today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Peace.